I swear, it's not a retro Claude knitting project unless I have to unpick a substantial amount of work, at least twice. But I finished my sleeves only to realise my dots don't line up with the body. So I'd forgotten, the instructions are really clear. There's a different number of dots in the sleeves for my size than there is in the length of the body. So if you want them to match up at the shoulder, you have to adjust for that. So I did that. I adjusted my sleeves, forgetting I'd adjusted the bodice to have one less row of dots because I was nervous about the yarn quantities and I'm a short person, I wanted it more cropped and all those things. So I made this modification to the sleeve dot pattern unnecessarily. So now the sleeves don't line up. I finish with a dark green and on the body I finish with a purple. And I did contemplate just leaving it, but I actually think, because it's just going to be one offset, I feel like if it was more offset, it would be fine. But because it's going to be just one offset, I'll lay it out flat and put some B-roll in here. Claude, don't forget. I can't just leave it, basically. So I have to add another stripe, but that means I have to add another grey stripe as well, and that is 1.5 inches. So it's going to make the sleeves 1.5 inches longer. But thankfully, these are not full length sleeves. They sort of come to there on me. So another 1.5 inches won't be the end of the world. And I also, thankfully, have enough yarn to be able to do that after all that. Like, I've not even touched one ball of wool. So that's reassuring. So to make this work, the only place where I can add this extra stripe is before the shaping for the sleeve. I'll have to make this section a bit longer and then do the shaping for the armhole, for the sleeve head. So that means I do have to undo all of this on both sleeves, but I think it's going to be worth it to get the effect that I want. It's going to be a pain to unpick all these stripes because I have been cutting the yarn, so I'm going to end up with like a million little yarn balls like this. But I have enough leftover yarn that that's not going to be an issue. So it's nice weather today. I'm going to go sit in the garden with a cup of tea and start unpicking. The light aircraft are out today. So I've unpicked my sleeves. The final row was quite tricky to re-pick up because it was a tuck stitch row. So before I did anything else, I re-knitted it before I lost any of the stitches because I couldn't be dealing with that. So now what I've got loads of these tiny little quantities. And because now I'm having shifted my pattern, whereas before this did 4 rows, the stitch count is now going to be different, so it won't do 4 rows. Like, this is the final one, there's hardly anything there. It's not going to be long enough. So what I was thinking of doing is I want to try and reuse these scrappy bits of yarn in this project if I can, so that for a future stash project, I've got more quantities to work with and easier, you know, rather than have all these hanging about. So what I think I'll do is I'll do the first one of all the coloured stripes from the skeins, and then it should mean the one I previously used down here I can now use up here, if that makes sense. Got my tea. 1 ginger, 3 ginger. It's a change for me. I didn't put any cold water in it though. No, that's too hot to drink. So normally if I've done sleeves 2 at a time, I find ripping back almost impossible to end up with them in the same place 2 at a time, but I think I've managed it for these 2. So I've got to purl back and then we'll start redoing all the stripes. Thanks, Rockstar. Okie dokie. So I have finished the button bands and the collar on Moan. This is the issue with trying to try these things on. I need to put my hair up so you can see. Now I did modify the collar quite a lot, just because I've made a couple of vintage knits with a collar like this and they never sit right on me. Oh, and they never sit right on me. So, have I done these the wrong way? Oh, bloody hell. No, I haven't. Okay, well that makes me feel a bit better. I added just a touch of short row shaping through the back neckline. This is because I know that I personally have a very rounded upper back section as a result of my scoliosis. So I need a little bit of extra length to get a collar to roll over, to fold over. I also made the collar considerably longer. And like I say, this is just because of my rounded upper back, because I added extra length with the short rows. That means I need extra length to then fold back and cover them up so that it folds in half. And I'm really pleased with how it sits. I wonder if it's out. So this green cardigan is one of the ones where I've made this sort of knitted vintage collar before, and you can see even with me tacking it down, it just doesn't want to sit the way like a collar should. It just wants to roll up. So I think I've successfully avoided that with my modifications. Oh boy, did I have a nightmare with the button bands though, because, and we've been talking about this a lot, so it's kind of fitting. I really struggled, not with right side and worst side this time. I managed to get my head around that perfectly fine. This is the right side, this is the worst side. My issue was with the left and right fronts. Which of these fronts is the left and right? Because if you take it off and look at it, that's different. The one on the left hand side as you look at it is not the same as the left hand side when you wear it. Does that make sense? Basically, I got my left and right confused, and the button band instructions have you do an Italian cast on to cast on across the bottom or the top as you're knitting the button band. And I've never done an Italian cast on before, and it was just a lot to get my head around. So the way it works is, I mean, the method of construction for the button band is incredibly clever. So they, Engineering Knits, has you pick up stitches along the edge with your circular needle, then cast on across the bottom, and then essentially to stop you having to sew on the button band, you knit two together as you go along, so you're sort of almost knitting it diagonally at an angle, and then it rotates round. It's very clever, but like I say, I've never done an Italian cast on before. I was getting confused about my right side and my worst side facing, and the left and right. It was hard. It was really hard, and I did it wrong the first time, and I was so furious with myself because I've been trying so hard to improve on these and be aware of my own shortcomings, failings, whatever you want to call it, in terms of this skill. And I was really upset that I'd started picking up stitches on the wrong side, and then I just realised I can just do, I thought I'm going to have to undo it all and whatever, and then I was like, no, I can just do the right side first instead of the left side or whatever. It doesn't matter which order I do them in, as long as I do the right thing for the right half of the cardigan. It doesn't matter whether I start with the button stand with no buttonholes or I do the one with the buttonholes first. Crisis averted. So I've got to add the sleeves and I've got to weave in all these ends, but we're very nearly there. I'd also like to say thank you for all your kind comments about the colour scheme in the previous video and about how it doesn't read Halloweeny at all to many of the Americans in the comment section who said it was more Scotland, heather, stormy days. I will take it. Okay, so I spent most of last night weaving in all the ends on the body. I'm not trimming them yet because I want to block this first, also partly because the dots where I've woven them in over the dots, the tension's got a bit funny on some of them, so I'm hoping with blocking that will sort of relax it out a bit. But of course, I've still got even more ends to weave in on the sleeves. And I've been thinking about what I want to do about this, because it's just, I mean, I'm going to weave them in, don't get me wrong, but I'm trying to think, is there a way that I can reuse these really tiny little bits? Maybe through needle felting them? Or can I like cut them up and reshed them and make felt with them? I'm not sure. I'm going to carry on mulling that one over as I carry on weaving in probably 100 more ends. Probably time for an audiobook. Okay, one sleeve has all the ends woven in. On to the next. I did at least have the sense when doing the sleeves to carry the grey yarn up the side, so that has made things ever so slightly quicker. But I still have been here a good few chapters. I have a fringe, I have an undercut, and I have finished weaving in all the ends, almost all the ends. As I went to set this up, I noticed a few I hadn't woven in yet, but I've woven in nearly all of the ends on Moan and sewn it up. So when I first tried it on, yeah, the sleeves are still sleeving. Okay, so I don't know what I've done. Hopefully that's not too feedbacky on the microphone, but I think I might need a shoulder pad, or I need to change how I sew in the sleeves. So I sort of gathered them in, and I think what I want to do actually is pleat them into a square. So this is one of the jumpers I made for my Home Fires jumpers project, which I suppose is kind of still ongoing. There's still patterns from that show I want to make. But I don't know if you can see the pleat here. It's a box pleat, but it hasn't got the points meet on the wrong side, if that makes sense. So what I've done, I think, is an inverted box pleat, and this is a true box pleat. And that, I found, has given a much cleaner line to some of my 40s knits. And I think I just did it wrong on this one. I also think, because I made the bigger size, I've got a little bit of drop off. And as a result, this is the way it's quite 80s. I haven't got enough space to show you. Better? Do you see what I mean? I can't decide. Maybe with buttons it will be better, and maybe with blocking I can bring the shoulders in a little bit. But I don't know whether to block it first, because it stopped raining, and so there's sunlight today. It's still not going to be dry in time. So do I try and redo the sleeves first before I block it? I still don't love the colour scheme, unfortunately. I think I'm gonna try and redo the sleeve heads and then block it. Is that right? I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know. Does that look better? It's kind of a little pleat in comparison to the sort of volume of the rest of it. Is it giving Blade Runner vibes? Or is it just the fringe? So I have washed and I'm now blocking. I haven't got any pins in it or anything, because I find when it's made up like this, that doesn't really work for me. But I did what I often do when I'm low on energy. And now I think about it, somebody commented, somebody warned me, but I don't know if you can see, like in here, this yarn has just completely felted. It's not shrunk, but it's felted. So like where I'd woven in the ends, like there, can you see? It's just gone really thick and lost all its stretch and elasticity. I think it's still going to be fine to wear, but like that, yeah, that's a woven in end. These are a couple of leftover ends. I've never seen a yarn behave like this, and I can only think it's because this was supposed to be eco-friendly or whatever. It's got some sort of like viscose, lyocell, something like that. But how bizarre. And it's completely changed the nature of the fabric. It's got no airiness, no breadth to it. It's become really solid, more like a jacket. I'm just hoping it's gonna be all right. Oh shit, why did I do that? Well, I know I did it. I did it to save energy, but it'll be such a shame. See, like in some places it's not too bad. What did it say on the yarn band? Yeah, it does say hand wash only. And it's Tencel, not lyocell. Oh yeah, lyocell. Tencel is lyocell. Okay, I was right then. But that is so bizarre, and it's 60% lyocell. But why would the lyocell felt? Because I didn't do anything to it that I wouldn't do with 100% wool. As in, I used wool wash, cold water, minimal agitation. So I've never seen viscose of any kind, whether it's rayon, synthetic, real, whatever, this eco-friendly version. I've never seen it felt. It's most bizarre. I still got the swatch in here, yeah. Admittedly, this is where I did the dots wrong, but like if you compare the sort of lightness and airiness and stretchiness of that to the sort of density. I mean, the rib still stretches. It's just the dots pattern that feels a bit grim and really heavy. Maybe it'll make it more hard wearing. I don't know. So as I've sort of come to a pause on Moan now with the blocking, I decided to do something else. That's not all of it. There's 2 more here, and there's still this much left of my ranunculus. I haven't been able to bring myself to redo the actual sweater part of it, or to frog the actual sweater part of it, because I'm still mulling over whether I want to try and save it or not. I have sort of put it on and worn it a couple of times, and it just doesn't feel like me for a variety of reasons, which is a real shame. But I am essentially leaving that decision for another day. And I said I had some ideas for what to do if I frogged it in one of my shorts. And originally I wanted to make a dog bed for Sagan, because as you know now, I'm a dog person. But I don't think I'll have enough. This is 4-ply, and all the patterns for dog beds I've been able to find are like super bulky. So I was going to have to quadruple strand it to crochet a dog bed, and I didn't really want to do that. As well, I wanted a knitting project, because I mean, I have a long-term crochet project I'm avoiding in the daisy blouse. And so instead, I've looked up some patterns for dog coats, and I've made a start on one. So this pattern called for DK, so I'm holding it double. And it's a bit dense, so I reckon I've sort of slightly more Aran weight, but it's working with my 4mm needles. I've already done the pattern repeat wrong, or I did my second repeat of the pattern I did wrong, and I offset it, and so now I'm just sort of basket weaving it. I'm like, meh, okay. But yeah, this was a free pattern on Ravelry, and I don't know whether this will fit Sagan. I don't know whether Sagan will tolerate a dog coat, but I also thought it's one of those charity projects. I've looked up a couple of dog rescues, animal shelters, I think you call them, in other parts of the world, but like cats and dogs homes, that take knitted dog coats, and I found one in particular that wanted large dog coats. So I'm going to make a large dog coat, and if it doesn't fit Sagan, it hopefully will fit some other poor pooch. I was sceptical about how much a dog would change your life until I had one in my life, and I have never known love like it. To the point that here I am knitting coats for dogs I haven't met. I don't even knit things for some of my family members. Anyway, I'll look up the details of this dog coat pattern. It's called something like dog coat. And I'll put them on the screen here. So if you want to make one, you can too. Maybe that would be a fun knit along, a sort of charity knit along project. I should also say, if you've been following with Stashbusting a little while or just Retro Claude for a little while, you'll know that I have ups and downs with my mental health. And one of the things that often helps me is doing things for other people. And my options are limited by my condition, and knitting for charity is one of the things that brings me joy day to day because I like knitting, but also is manageable for me even on really rough and really dark days. And it does wonderful things for my self-worth, I suppose. I don't know, it's good for me. It's not just, and I don't mean to say that in like, I'm such a good person, look at all this charity work I do. No, it's good for me in that it reminds me, it helps me find meaning in the darkness. I don't think I need to elaborate on that anymore. Interpret that however you like, quite frankly. That's all I'm willing to say. It helps me find meaning in the darkness. I tend to start to struggle with my mental health more in the winter, so maybe I'll schedule a sort of charity knit along, and I'll look up some places that accept knitting as donations, and I'll hatch a plan. Okay, so I'm just about to film a reveal for Moan, so I've got all dressed up. I'm kind of going Blade Runner vibes and leaning into it, and I must say I am loving it. I'm really pleased with the way it came out. I still haven't got my buttons. I ended up ordering some from AliExpress. So wherever possible, I try not to buy things from abroad online. It's just one of those little things I've done for a very long time in my own personal climate journey. However, there are occasions where I'm going on Amazon UK, eBay UK, Etsy UK, and looking for things like buttons, ribbons, fabrics. And I know it's drop shipped from China. And sure enough, you check AliExpress, and there it is, available to buy to customer for sometimes 1/10 of what I would have paid. So in those instances, I do just order it myself from AliExpress because I'm cutting out the middleman. I don't know, but I try not to do it. I don't actively shop on AliExpress, but if I'm looking for something and I find a lot of results coming up and I'm like, that's drop shipped, then, and I'm wanting it, then I just go to the horse's mouth, as it were. That is to say, I found some buttons that I like, that I think will work from Moan, and they're coming from AliExpress, so they're not here yet. So I have to do the final reveal without the buttons, so I'm just going to pin it shut. It is what it is. It's time to weigh up what I have left over from Moan, because what I want to do with this leftover yarn, and if you're a Ko-fi member you will already have seen this, is I want to use this yarn because so many of you were so complimentary about the colourway and the way that you liked it, that I thought I would make this the Ko-fi members giveaway for the year. So if you don't know, it's turned out to be about once every year at around this time, knit something, and to say thank you for my Ko-fi members, I, let people enter a giveaway and they might have a chance to win something I've made. And it's just a little fun way for me to possibly make things I wouldn't make otherwise, help with my stash busting, and also just to say thank you for those people who support me over on Ko-fi, because they are, I think I looked at it the other day, and depending on the month, they are over 50% of my income now from YouTube. I think we've got 200 members and I'm so incredibly grateful. The least I can do is knit them something. So let's see how much yarn we've got left and what we're working with. Using my mum's new kitchen scales, don't tell her because she got fed up of me pinching the other ones. So these two are the different dye lot to the ones that I actually ended up using. So we have 50 of that and 17 grams of that left. So what I need to do is keep careful track of this in Ravelry, otherwise I'll end up using this odd as an end in the wrong project and all of that. So enter totals. So we have 67 grams of that. We have 50 grams of the dye lot 1938 in the same whatchamacallit, and how much else? 51 grams. Let's just say we've got one of those. Now this is where it's going to get complicated with all the little bits from Unpicking. Let's start with the purple because I can definitely remember what colour that is. So we have 16 grams of that one left. This one is called something like aloe, 21 grams of that left. This dark green, we have 11 grams of left. I think that's Olive Grove. So that makes this Ocean Spray, and we have 19 grams of that one left. Okay, so I bought 50 grams of each of the colours, so that one should be easy to figure out. So 50, take 19. So I've used 31 of the Pebble Shore. I haven't brought my notebook or anything, I'm so unprepared. So 31, add 34, add 29, add 39. So 133 grams of the colours left. No, used. And then 33 from the second dye lot used. I originally bought 7 and I've used 6, so 6 times 50 is 300, so add another 300. Add 33, add 133. 466 grams of yarn I used for this sweater, divided by 50 gram balls, 9.32. So yeah, that makes sense. 9.32 balls of wool used. I still don't know what the total was. I've completely forgotten.
So the new total going into August 2024 is 135.5 balls of wool left in.
135.5. So let's round down and call this 9 1/4. So 135.5 take 9.25. 126.25. We've gotten to the new total finally. So the total, and I will update my little thingamabob. Maybe I should make a spreadsheet. 126.25 grams of wool left in the stash. We're very close to being under 100. So like if I use up all of that blue cone, that's 10. The daisy blouse I think is going to be another 7 or 8 at least. So that would be 18 gone if I use up all of those. I've got at least 3 or 4 here for the Ko-fi giveaway. Can we get to under 100 by the end of the year? Oh, no, wait, that isn't the new total. Because let me tell you what I found. So when I was going through my sewing things the other day, I found some of this vintage, I guess, but sort of like 80s, 90s vintage. Rowan Sea Breeze undyed 4-ply cotton. And now actually I should check how much is here and whether these are actually 50 gram or not. Yeah, that one's 51. And that one's 54, so it looks like they are sort of like complete. So that's 2 to add to the total. So we're actually at 128.25. So the reason I'd kept this in my sewing supplies was I think I'd contemplated using this as piping cord rather than buying piping cord when I was doing Little Dorrit. That was quite a while ago. So it's literally just been in a box in my sewing room with other braided cordy type things. I was like, that's actually knitting yarn. I should do something with that. Really, it needs to be counted in the stash. So I'm doing it. I'm being honest. I'm counting it in the stash. I do think, however, this would be perfect to just make dishcloths out of, or tea towels or something. So I think that's probably what this is going to become, because I don't know what else I'd do with it. I mean, I suppose I could make baby clothes with it, but because it's sort of naturally and undyed looking, that's very sad beige children. And I don't want to make anybody a sad beige child. So, yeah, I think it will go to a practical use. Could also crochet it, I suppose, couldn't I? That would be quicker than knitting. But yeah, I think that means it's it for this month. At least we finally finished my own, apart from the buttons. And I'll let you know, I think I might have to reinforce the button band because it's a horizontal stretchy one. So when I button it up, it's just going to pull like that. So I might have to do some grosgrain ribbon magic. But with it being quite a narrow button band, I've never done it where you put the buttonholes in the grosgrain ribbon. I could try it, I suppose. If that's a video you'd like to see, let me know. And if not, oh well, I might make it anyway. Sorry. Thanks for watching. See you next time. I'll leave you with the Blade Runner moan look. Although, very difficult to channel Blade Runner when you live in the middle of nowhere in the countryside, so it will be in my back garden as usual.